If you're a peasant normie like I used to be, you've probably shopped for fragrance at somewhere like Macy's, or some other type of department store. You walk in, maybe you smell a couple, and then you buy a bottle full retail. That is the worst way to buy fragrance. You're not going to get the fragrances that you really want, but you're also going to be spending way too much money. So, this video is going to be about how to test the fragrances to make sure they're what you want, how to buy them, and also I'm going to give you some tips on like how to collect, how to decide on how big your collection will be, and what types of fragrances to put into that collection. So, like I said, when I started buying, I would just go into the department store and test them out, listen to what the sales reps had to say. Pro tip: do not listen to anything they say; it's all wrong. So, step one is actually going to be learning about what the best fragrances are. So, if you're watching a video like this, you're already in the right spot. My two favorite places to look up fragrance content and get some knowledge and some recommendations is YouTube, which is where you are now, and Fragrantica. So, Fragrantica.com is basically like a Wikipedia or like a database of basically every fragrance ever. And it's going to tell you like the note breakdown. You're going to see reviews that people leave, those are really helpful. And you'll see like different stats on the fragrances. So, how long does the fragrance last? Um, is it masculine or feminine leaning? Different things like that. So, you get like performance stats from people. You can create a profile and actually vote for these things. So you can say, you know what, I smell, this note more than I smell this note, or it lasts this long on me, or I like this fragrance, or I dislike this one. So it's really cool. It's just a collection of like user data that kind of gives you information on all the different fragrances and stuff. So that's a really good place. Definitely read the reviews. You can sort the reviews by positive and negative. Read what people like about the fragrances, read what they don't like, see what they recommend. And then, of course, YouTube is a great place to find content and different recommendations. I mean, it's filled with tons of different channels and videos and lists of good fragrances. My favorite channels are, I used to like Jeremy Fragrance, so his old videos are pretty good. His new videos are kind of crazy. Um, Melissa National, she is a smaller-ish channel. She's not as big as like Jeremy or somebody, but I really love her videos. They're really good. She's one of those people who recommends the same thing over and over again because it's something that's good. I don't trust people who are always recommending different things. I think that those types of channels are just, I mean, they're just going to tell you everything's good, buy everything, which I don't find useful. If something works and somebody really likes something, you would expect them to recommend it over and over. So that's a good channel. Curly Fragrance is great. She does some sponsorships, so you just kind of have to watch out for that. But entertaining content. And then Fragrance Apprentice is also another one. And there's a few other channels I watch, but those are probably my favorites. All right, how to test the fragrances. So, if possible, you want to test in store because testing in store is free. All you gotta do is drive to the mall or department store or Sephora or whatever, wherever you're gonna go. Um, of course, you're gonna have the paper test strips. You can test out different fragrances. Actually, I'm gonna show you right now. All right. So, paper test strip. The best way to do it is, you'll see some people spray it directly right here, but that's not going to be good because when you spray it up close, a lot of the alcohol will absorb into the paper. And so when you smell it, that's all you're going to smell. So, if possible, hold it far away. And as the particles come out of the atomizer, the alcohol will actually evaporate and leave more of the fragrance oil on the paper strip. So without spraying your hand, spray from a distance basically. And that's going to smell a lot better. Smelling on paper is only going to tell you so much about the fragrance. So I find that generally you get a lot more of the top notes. So for example, with like Dylan Blue, you'll get like a lot of the aquatic and the citrus notes, but there's some other incense and peppery notes and like ambroxan that sits in the base. So if you're going to test a lot of fragrances, test them on paper. And you also want to maybe test out only so many fragrances at once. So let's say you smell 10, you go home, come back a week later, smell 10 more. You don't want to sit there and smell 100 different fragrances because it's going to overwhelm your olfactory senses. So just test out a group, come back, test out some more. If you like something on paper, then you can go and test it on skin. And the reason why you want to test on skin is because you'll be able to see how the fragrance dries down. So a fragrance might have top notes that you really love. Maybe there's some citrus, but that might fade after an hour. And then you're left with 9 more hours of whatever's underneath. And so spraying it on the skin will let you get those more base notes. So once the top notes evaporate away, you're going to be left with what's underneath. And there's been times where I've liked what's on the top, so what you smell at first or what you smell off the paper, but I have not liked what ends up on the skin, an hour or two down the road. So you want to make sure you test on skin, see how long it lasts, see if you like it, different things like that. Fragrances can change a lot just based off of like your skin chemistry and things like that. So test out a few on paper, pick 1 or 2, spray them on your hand or on your arm or something, see if you like them then. If you want to test a fragrance that is not in the store, so usually in most department stores you're just going to find designer fragrances. Some department stores like Neiman Marcus have some of the niche fragrances too, so that's great. But if you can't find a fragrance but you hear people recommending it and you want to test it, skip to this step. So you wouldn't do any of that testing in the store. However, if you tested in the store and you like something, then you would also do this as the next step, and that is to buy a decant. So what is a decant? It's just a little thing like this. They come in different shapes and sizes, so it might be just a little glass one like this. This is like 5 milliliters, I think. And then you can do some bigger ones like this with a nice fancy case. I prefer these. So you twist it and it comes up. I don't know if you see, where's the little hole? Yeah, so you can just spray it. The sprayers on these aren't as good, so if you're testing them from here, you want to make sure that you spray more. So these are nice. I like to collect a bunch of these, and this is a great way to test, so you can actually wear it throughout the day, see how long it lasts, see if you like it, things like that. If you're testing something blindly, so let's say you tested one in the store, you might buy like a 5 ml or a 10 ml decant. If you haven't smelled it ever before, you can go with something smaller, like a 3 milliliter. That'll be good. So that's basically how you test. Test online or test in the store. I get these from a place called Decant X. That's my favorite website. If you want to test some of the more niche fragrances, Decant X might not have them, so I go with Scent Split. So you can also go there. And then there's a couple other sites you can just look around. And then if you're not sure whether or not to trust a site, just look up reviews, or someone's probably talking about it somewhere on like YouTube or something. So just look for a site that's trusted. I really trust Decant X. They're great. Not sponsored. I'm not sponsored by anything in this video, just giving you my recommendations of what I've tried out. So I'm going to move on to collecting fragrance. So when you're deciding on what you want to buy full bottles of, there's some things you just have to go through. So my first tip for collecting is to collect the decants. And the reason I say this, some people think that it's a waste. Why would I spend 15, 20, 25 bucks on a little sample when I could just, spend 100 on the full bottle and get so much more juice for the price? And that is because if you collect bottles, very quickly you will not only spend a bunch of money, but you'll also have way too much juice to be able to use up. So right now I've got like 22 or 23 in my collection. That's enough for years. If I didn't buy anything else, this would last me. I mean, I haven't calculated it exactly, but it could be like 5 years or something worth of fragrance. So you don't need that much, and it's harder to use it up than you think it would be. So why would you buy, let's say you spend $100 on a bottle. Why would you just buy one when you can spend that same 100 and buy like 5 or 6 different fragrances? So I think that, test something out, try it out just a little bit, and then that way you can try out so many more different things and have a bigger collection. It won't take up as much space. You won't spend as much money. And the important thing to know is that your tastes are going to change. So you might go to the department store and try out 3 fragrances. You pick one. Oh, I like this one the best. That doesn't mean that's the one you should buy. There's thousands of different fragrances out there. So many different styles and so many different brands and all kinds of stuff. So not committing to full bottles, I highly recommend. If you're like a content creator and you review fragrances, that's like the one situation where it's okay to have like hundreds of bottles, because you're putting them to use through content, even though you're not going to actually use up all of them. So that's maybe the one situation. But yeah, your tastes are going to change. So definitely be open to being patient and trying out a lot of different things before you commit to buying full bottles. So a tip I have on when to actually buy the full bottles, when you use up all of the juice in your, I want to say buy at least a 5 or 10 ml. So you can test out with like a 2 or 3 ml. And if you like that, buy a bigger one. Still buy a sample. Continue to use it. If by the end of like 10 milliliters, you're like, you know what, I still want to wear this more, then it might be a situation where you buy a full bottle. And what's nice about these is it's not really wasted. Why would I spend extra money on a sample when I could just buy the full bottle? It's not wasted because this becomes your travel spray. So you have the full bottle, but then you also have the travel spray for, of course, when you travel and stuff. And it makes it really convenient. And also, even if you're not traveling, if you just want to reapply throughout the day, you also have that too. You can carry it around more easily. So you have to decide on how big you want your collection to be. So for some people, they might just want one signature scent. So maybe they just pick up my number one recommendation for beginners, Versace Dylan Blue. But it could be whatever. I've got a video on how to choose a signature scent, so that's pretty straightforward. Try out a few versatile ones, and you pick one and you're good. Maybe you want to do, there's a lot of different like strategies or philosophies of how to collect. So for some people, you could do maybe one spring summer scent and then one fall winter scent. So you want to have just 2 in your collection. That's a great way to do it. You can also do like a collection of 3. So that would be something like a daytime scent, a nighttime scent, and like a special occasion scent. So one cool tip that I want to give is like, if you want to have a signature smell but also have multiple fragrances, you could choose a combination from the same line or the same brand. So one that I think would work well is like the original Le Male by Jean Paul Gaultier. This would be like your fresh spring summer daytime scent, so you wear this to like work or to the gym or stuff like that, casual wear. And then your wintertime scent would be something like Ultra Male. You could also wear this at nighttime. And then your special occasion scent could be Le Male Le Parfum, and this would be like date night or special occasions, things like that. So they all kind of smell the same, but they're of course very different in other ways as well. So you would be smelling like your signature scent, but also you could have some flexibility. So those are just some different ideas. You could choose to have like a signature style of fragrance. So right now I've been really loving tobacco scents. So maybe I could have a collection, but it would all be very similar, like fragrances with tobacco notes. So Spice Bomb Extreme, Side Effect, and then like red tobacco. I don't have a full bottle yet of Naxos, but that could also be something I'll throw in there. And so you have a collection, but they all smell similar. They have a similar note that kind of runs between them all. So you have not one signature scent, but a signature group of scents, if that makes sense. You could also choose like the variety strategy, which would be like you have something really spicy, right? Really spicy, something really sweet, something really fresh. Like you try to cover all the different categories. That could also be a way that you collect. Or here's a really unique one. You could have a collection of fragrance as like a memory. How do I word it? A collection of memories. So maybe this summer you buy Versace De La Blue and you wear it all summer. Then fall gets here, and then you wear Spice Brom Extreme over the wintertime. But then next spring and summer, you get H24. Then the next winter, and you kind of have this like series of like, this was the fragrance I wore at this moment in time. And then you kind of have like, it gives you like memories basically. So you collect like, these are all my past fragrances I wore in these different years. And the reason I give you this idea is because the sense of smell is like the most nostalgic, or has the most to do with storing memories. I think it like the circuitry in your brain, they're next to each other or something like that. I don't know exactly, but you could have, it's a way of capturing memories. So I think that's also a really good, reason to collect. All right, so something that I'm doing basically with my collection is that I try to touch all the bases. So fresh scent, different styles, things like that. But I'm really leaning into buying a lot of similar fragrances, like I said, that have that like tobacco note, vanilla, cinnamon, spicy. I really love those types of fragrances. So I've got like a couple fragrances for each style, but then with that one group, my favorite style, I have a bigger collection. So I'm kind of doing both. But I don't really think that most people are going to have a collection as big as mine. So yeah, just decide on how you want your collection to be. So the last thing I wanted to cover in this video is where to buy. Of course, I don't recommend buying retail. There are situations where I have done it, but that's just because I've looked online and the prices really aren't any better. But most of the time, buying online is going to give you the best prices. So my favorite site is fragrancebuy.ca. It's a Canadian site. Best prices I can find pretty much on anything. I've also bought a lot from Aura Fragrance. I think they're based in like Texas. They also have good prices. Occasionally their prices on certain things will be better than Fragrance Buy. And then there's other places, Fragrance X. There's a bunch of sites, Joma Shop. Just look for reviews and look for people discussing trusted sites. There's a lot of trustworthy sites that have discounted prices, so don't be like scared of that. Don't feel like that you have to buy full retail. Just look for what people trust. I would avoid eBay. I've never bought anything off there, but I've heard that people get scammed a lot. Amazon I have bought from, but I also have heard stories of people getting fake fragrances. So Amazon is probably okay, but there probably also is like a small chance that you might get scammed. So if you want to stay away, stay away. You're probably good on Amazon, but that's just kind of like a 50-50 thing. So yeah, that's basically it. That's my full guide to buying fragrance. Hopefully you find this valuable. I'm not sure how many more fragrance videos I'm going to do, because I think I've talked about everything I can think of. So if you want to keep seeing more, let me know, and I'll see you next week.